The purpose of this video is to show how to do a very simple exploit against a very exploitable website. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. What we are looking at here is a terminal. We are in a lab environment, whereas, let me give you the scenario of the lab environment. The scenario is you are a penetration tester. You are on a client's network and you have been given permission to scan the network for vulnerabilities and given permission to demonstrate the vulnerabilities, to actually do the exploits if you find a vulnerability. That's important for me to point out, because should you ever want to do anything like this in real life, you must have someone's permission. You must have the owner of the network's permission, explicit permission, and you must have a clear scope. So I do need to say that up front. So we are in a lab and we have full permission. All right. So what I've done already is I've already scanned the network, found the IP address of a machine right here that has been set up, well, that is on the network to be exploited. But in this scenario, it is serving as a web application server for internal use in the company. So I did this scan on this web server, and here's some of the results from one of the scans. I used a program called NMAP. I'll link to that as in video notes as well. And so just kind of scanning through, I see several vulnerabilities that we could do. But for what we're looking at today, we want to demonstrate what it would be like to run an exploit against a site that would be similar to Joomla site. And Drupal is, for our purposes in this demo, similar enough. So we see that it's running a Drupal site. We see that the Drupal site has some forms on it. We might could run some cross-scripting exploits. We'll see about that. So that's going to be our target tonight. So let's jump over here and load up another tool called Metasploit. Oops. Console. Let's spell that properly. There we go. All right, and while that's loading up, let's just go also look at, if this is a web server, we might be able to go to this IP address and see what's up there. So let's do that. We're going to click on a browser. And I have one already loaded. We went to the IP address and we have several things loaded on this site. We're going to go to the Drupal directory, see that Drupal site. And there it is. There's the Drupal site, and powered by Drupal. It's got a username and password field, and as you can see, it's a Metasploitable website. So that's the tool we're about to run. This is a lab environment set to where you can test a lot of the exploits in that tool. So that's why it's called a Metasploitable site. Kind of cute. Okay, let's go back to. Minimize that, and we'll go back to our save. Oh, it did come up. All right, there we go. Metasploit is running now in our console. So what we're going to do to search for exploits is we're going to search in there, library for an exploit, and we're searching on the keyword Drupal. Okay, and we get back 5 things to choose from. Notice the disclosure date. We don't know exactly how old our Drupal site is, so I would say that let's start with the most recent disclosure first and see if that works. So in order to use that exploit, we're going to type in use and then type the name of the exploit. And it's the Drupal Geddon 2. I think I spelled that correctly. Let's see. I did type it correctly. If it typed correctly and it's loaded, it now shows in red. Okay, so before we run it, we want to check what the options are, because there's a few things that we have to set. we're going to need to set our target address. So set our host to our target IP address. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to set is we want to point it directly to that Drupal site, so we need to set the target URI. Right now it's just set default at the highest folder level. We want to point it to the Drupal folder, so we're going to say Drupal. Whoops. I do need to tell it what we're setting here, so target URI Drupal. There we go. All right, let's just check those options to make sure I did that properly. We now see that it's going to target that IP address and this folder, so that's correct. All right, we're ready to go. So the next thing we do is simply type exploit. We're going to wait for a moment, and there we go. Notice it does say it thinks at the target it's Drupal 7 and that it's unpatched. Now, it ran the exploit, but the exploit didn't break into the website. So that's what it means when it says no session was created. You're trying to create a session on that machine, which means then that you now have a doorway open into that machine. So we were not able to create that with this one. So we're going to go back up here to where it was listing all of those choices. Okay, so we'll just try the one. Let's see. We could do this one, but you know what? I think we're going to try the original version of DrupalGet. Let's try that one next. And the reason I want to try this one is because it's doing SQL injection. And by golly, if you ever read the notes that come out on security updates, you'll recognize this phrase a lot, SQL injection. And so I would like to see if this would run, because I would like to demonstrate what that looks like. Okay. So it's essentially, oh, nope, it does have a little bit of a different path there. So we're going to copy that and go back down to here. Okay, I'm type back to get out of that exploit we had loaded, and we're going to load a new one. Use, and then paste. All right, there we go. All right, let's do our options again. This time for this one, we have to set our host again, so we'll do that. Oops, I'm sorry. 192. There's our IP address of the internal web server. Okay, that's set. And we also need to point it to the proper folder. All right. Let's check options again. Okay. That is correct. All right. Now let's run this exploit. Okay, so what it's doing here is it's setting up a listener on our end. And then, oh, look at that. We have the Meterpreter session started. That is a good sign that this exploit might be working. And we're in. So what this Meterpreter is, we have our little terminal session going on this machine. This is very similar to that, but on the target machine. In fact, let's see, just make sure that we're on that target machine. Where are we? Oh, look at that. What kinds of, this is what we see when we type directory, and look, we have other folders in there, and there's an includes folder. Oh, this is kind of looking like, if you're familiar with a Drupal setup, that this might be a Drupal site. So let's just double check. Let's change directory and go up a level. And now let's do directory list again. Oh, there we go. There's their chat program on that server. There's the Drupal directory. There's their payroll app and the PHPMyAdmin. So there you go. We are on that machine. So being on this machine, what can we do there? Well, maybe we can go back to, well, we don't have to do that. We can just, let's see if this command works. Not everything that would work on the other console here. Test. Okay, that doesn't work, but tell you what, let's just try to create a, okay, how about we just create a folder. Okay, let's run directory. Okay, so now we've demonstrated that we actually can create things in that machine. So there you go. We have successfully infiltrated that machine, showed that it is vulnerable, and at this point, if we want to do more like load malware, we could do that if we were. So there you go. This is now. So if you wonder sometimes how people hack websites, this is a little demonstration of that.